rainy Sunday in St. Louis, Missouri. We welcome you to Busch Stadium. The final game of this series between the Reds and the Cardinals, and the Reds are looking for the 3-game series sweep. Hi again, everybody. Alongside Chris Welsh and Jeff Pecoro, I'm Tom Brenneman. Delighted to have you with us here on Fox Sports Ohio. We'll get to the Reds in a minute. The biggest story in Major League Baseball occurred after the game here last night. Mike Matheny fired as manager of the St. Louis Cardinals.
Sometimes you just have to do something to appease the fans, and I think that was the case here with Mike Matheny, because you look at what he's done here. The first 4 seasons, 4 playoff appearances, he wins a pennant in the National League. He still, after the last 3 years, still got a 500 plus 500 record. So, just interesting the way the bar of expectations vary from team to team. But here in Cardinal Nation, they don't like losing at all, not even one bit. I think the ball club's only 1 game under right now, and that's what causes them to make a move. I was very surprised they did it midseason. A lot of people around here telling me it's something that needed to be done.
Let's turn the page now to what the Reds have done the first 2 games of this series. And certainly one of the downfalls for this Cardinal club has been its bullpen. The Reds have lit them up the first 2 games.
The Reds offense is rolling right now. I don't think there's a whole lot of bullpens out there that really want to see the Reds late in the ball game and have to cover 3 or 4 innings. But you can see what the Reds offense has done. 14 runs and 20 hits. In 8 innings. I mean, these guys are just swinging the bat, and it's a team effort. I mean, everybody up and down the lineup is using the entire field, getting on base. It's on a roll, and it's really fun right now.
It's funny, the other night when Anthony DeSclafani got the start in Cleveland, after the game, he said, I did not have good stuff at all. His catcher, Tucker Barnhart, said, didn't have good stuff at all. Yet, it was his best game since coming off the DL.
That's what I love to hear about a starting pitcher, a veteran. Even though he doesn't have 100 wins out there, I mean, he's been around a little bit. He understands what he needs to do. And give me a guy who can go out there without a good feel or without a good fastball and still get the job done. He battles, he hits the corners. He did a great job against the Indians, and they're a pretty good hitting ball club, obviously. 7 innings of 1-run baseball, you'll take that anytime.
His mound counterpart today, after the game, will be making his way to Washington, D.C. as a National League All-Star, Miles Michaelis.
He's come a long way for a guy that was pitching in Asia just last year. I mean, he signed a 2-year deal here with the Cardinals. They didn't know what they had. I think the Reds were on him, actually, to try to sign him as a free agent, but they weren't going to give him $15 million over 2 years. The Cardinals had a leap of faith, and that's one free agent signing that has really worked out for them.
When we come back, the State of the Union, if you will. Jeff Pecoro going to visit with Reds interim manager Jim Riggleman. Boy, what a job he's done since taking over this Reds team.
manager, when you took over, I hate calling it old school, but you're more of an old school type of guy. And this team has kind of taken on your persona a little bit, hasn't it?
I don't know. I guess the old school moniker is something that I look at with pride, because I love the way people have done things through the history of the game, but you also have to realize that the game changed, times change, you got to adapt. And I've had fun to this point with being around these young players, and I'm old enough to be some of them's grandfather, so I've enjoyed that dynamic and the give and take with the players and so forth. But the bottom line is the game really hasn't changed that much. The relationships haven't changed that much. How you go about dealing with players, whether it's an old school method or whether you're more in tune with things that are going in today, the way they communicate with each other with social media and so forth. I don't do any of that, but it's still relationships with players and getting your message across, regardless how you get the message across. You're just trying to do the best you can and get the most out of the players that you can. And to this point, we're very happy with the way they've responded.
This team is healthy, finally, after about the first couple of weeks that you took over. But you see that aggressiveness on both the hitters and the pitchers, and that's kind of the way you manage a little bit.
Well, I think the aggressiveness from the pitchers, Danny Darwin and Ted Power, they've really convinced our guys to try to pitch in more. Mm-hmm. And certainly we're not ever trying to hit people, but you got to pitch in and, own both sides of the plate. And, that's a credit to those guys in the way that the pitchers have responded to their message. I think offensively, we got a pretty good ball club, and it's come to light after, for whatever reason, that first few weeks. Injuries was a big part of it, but also some of the guys who weren't injured just did not come out of spring training swinging the bat like they were capable.
Jim, you come to the mythical break here, mm-hmm. and you look at the post-All-Star break. What is your message to these guys as they head home? Is it get back to 500? Is it get out of fifth, fourth, third? What do you tell these guys? Well,
our message from the beginning was let's have some enjoyment here with some scoreboard watching. Let's get after the fourth place club. And I think at that time, the fourth place club might have been Milwaukee, actually. But right now, Pittsburgh is the fourth place club, and let's try to go get Pittsburgh, who happens to be playing very good right now. So, that's you can't get into third until you get out of fifth, and if we get into fourth, let's chase the third place club down. Let's just try to keep playing good baseball and follow the league and see if we can make our step up into the league.
Well, you're playing really well right now. Let's hope that it continues post-All-Star break, right?
Thank you. I appreciate it.
One more game to go as the Reds head into the All-Star break, and they hope to finish strong.
in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Busch Stadium in St. Louis, Missouri. And delighted to have you with us on this Sunday afternoon. Elk and Elk storyline, the storyline for the Redlegs. With a win today, it would be a 3-game sweep. Their first in St. Louis, going all the way back to 2006. They will make it 4 wins in a row over the Cardinals. Dating back to last year, they had lost 13 straight. And it would be their first 3-game sweep of this year. They've had a pair of 4-gamers. Look who they swept in those series, the Cubs and the Dodgers. They have a couple of 2-game series sweeps. But going for the 3-gamer here today in St. Louis. Reds fired up. Final game leading up to the mythical first half of the season. The All-Star break begins tomorrow. Of course, the All-Star game will be on Tuesday in St. Louis. Reds are 3 over 500 since Jim Riggleman took over. And the lineup reads as follows. Peraza, Jeanette, Votto, Suarez in the cleanup slot. Waker in right, Barnhart catching, a latter third of Adam Duvall, Anthony DeSclafani, and Billy Hamilton. What a story Mike Michaelis has been so far. Miles Michaelis, a 10-game winner. He's on his way to the All-Star game.
Who would have ever thought? Yeah, who would have ever thought that he has come all the way from pitching down in Asia? He thought at one time his career was going to be over. He went down there over there to rejuvenate. He learned how to throw a breaking ball. He has strengthened his fastball. There were a lot of teams interested in signing him in the offseason, but it was the Cardinals that came up with the money. 29 years old. He was the Cardinals' only All-Star selection before Yadier Molina ended up taking the place of Buster Posey when Posey has an injury. So even though he'll be on the All-Star team, I think the Cardinals have made a request for him not to pitch on Tuesday night because here he is pitching on Sunday. So he's been awfully good. He throws a high fastball, a big overhand breaking ball. He's especially tough on right-handers. He'll give it up a little bit to left-handers, and there are a lot of lefties in this Reds lineup.
Well, the new manager taking over after Mike Matheny was fired following a game last night is Mike Shildt. 49 years old, a North Carolina native, has been a member of the Cardinals organization going all the way back to 2004. He's been on their major league coaching staff the last 2 years. He has had incredible success managing in their system in the minor leagues. Won league championships in 10 and 11 with Johnson City of the Appalachian League, and 12 with Springfield. Most recently managed in 2016 their AAA team in Memphis. So his first game as a big league manager here today. First pitch to Jose Peraza is strike one, and this one underway. Peraza, a career night last night. First time ever 5 hits in a game. He had 5 singles. 2 of them were infield hits, and the other 3 were just little floaters into the outfield. We made the comment that should have been the kind of night he went and bought a lottery ticket. Even his teammates were giving him a hard time. 0-2. Much cooler today than it was the first 2 days here in St. Louis. Temperatures close to 100 degrees. Today, game time temp at 87. 0-2 the count on Peraza. Has that batting average all the way up to 288. Those were the numbers for Peraza last night. Knocked in a couple of runs, scored a run. One ball, 2 strikes.
Now, what the Reds are going to see out of Michaelis today is a guy that has a real good understanding of what pitching is all about. You combine that with the fact that he can throw in the mid-90s. Good control on the upper part of the zone. He just does not give up very much at all as far as hard hit balls, especially to right-handed hitters. And that one got him.
Sure did. So after getting ahead, no balls and 2 strikes. Peraza reaches again.
Trying to come right in there. He starts to make a move to maybe turn on that inside pitch, and it gets him on the forearm.
That'll bring Scooter Gennett to the plate. Of course, Scooter, along with the 2 guys batting behind him, will not be flying with the Reds back to Cincinnati tonight. They will be flying to the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. Trio representing the Cincinnati Reds franchise on the National League All-Star team starting Tuesday night. That game will be right here on Fox, coverage beginning at 7:30 Eastern Time. At 328, 16 home runs, 62 runs batted in. He had 2 more hits, was on base 3 times last night, knocked in a couple of runs. You got to go all the way back to Sean Casey in 1999. What a great year that was for the Reds. They lost, of course, in the 1-game playoff to the Mets, but that was such an exciting team. Scooter with 114 hits going into this final game prior to the break. You know, we mentioned the journey a little bit of Michaelis. Go all the way back to 2009, was a 7th round pick, grew up in Florida by the San Diego Padres. 4 years later, traded to the Pirates. A month later, traded to the Rangers. And as Chris mentioned, he wondered, was his career going anywhere? He got a chance to pitch a little bit with the Padres in 2012. Actually threw the ball very well for them out of their bullpen. But only a couple of games the following year. Spent most of the year in the minor leagues. Got hurt. And then decided to sign as a free agent and go to Japan, where for the last 3 years he's been one of the best pitchers in the Japanese Central League. 188 innings last year to lead that league in innings pitched. He also led the league in games started, strikeout to walk ratio, had the most strikeouts in the league, the third most wins, and the third best ERA. Now, based on what you've heard from people through the years, what's the competition level like in a Japanese Central League?
It's good. I can't say that the people have told me that it is at major league caliber, but there are a few players on every team that could come right over here to the big leagues and move right in.
3-2, Peraza running. And that ball is whacked down the right field line. Is it fair for Jeanette? It is a foul ball. Oh, goodness.
Michaelis got away with one right there. He hung a breaking ball, and he'll throw 6 out of every 10 pitches that he will throw to a hitter are going to be off speed of some kind. Here's the curveball, and it's never good to live up there or at that curveball. Scooter just not able to keep that baby fair.
Again, a 3-2 coming to Jeanette, and this one is fouled off to the third base line with Peraza again getting started at first.
One of the things that an experience in Japan will get a pitcher to do is use his entire repertoire. I mean, just don't go over there and start barreling in your fastball and slider. So he's come up with, you know, in order, his favorite pitches are a four-seam fastball, a slider, a curveball, a sinker, then a changeup. But sinker and changeup are really about the same usage amount. So he throws a lot of off-speed stuff. One reason why he's so tough against righties. Good little battle going on here.
And Peraza taking an extra minute or two to get back to the bag. He started on 3 pitches consecutively, sprinting there to second base and having to make the U-turn and come back. Again, a 3-2 coming to Scooter Jeanette. No, not so fast. That move wouldn't pick off Long John Silver.
Well, it's not meant to really pick him off. It's meant to throw over there just in case he gets too happy and starts running on the first move. Here's the big splits between he against lefties and righties.
Popped up shallow center field. That'll be easy for Harrison Bader, and retreating back to first base, Peraza. So the first battle between Michaelis and Jeanette won by the Cardinal right-hander. The Cardinals defense presented by Ford. Mentioned Bader getting his first start of the series out in center. Along the infield, the same group we've seen this entire series, and Yadier Molina has started behind the plate every game of this series. They say Bader is an outstanding defender in center field. Now Joey Votto at .290, 9 home runs, 50 batted in. Joey had 2 hits here last night, scored a run, knocked in a couple of runs. His final 3 at bats, he came to the bases loaded each time in the 7th, the 8th, and the 9th innings with the bases loaded. One ball, one strike. Peraza running on the 1-2, and Votto dumps it foul and out of play. And boy, Peraza, that's deja vu all over again. That's 4 times over the last 8 pitches where he has been running and had to turn around and come back. And you see only twice in his 19 attempts has Peraza been thrown out trying to steal. 1-2 on Votto. Peraza started, then stopped. And Votto pops it up into left field, and that's easy for Ozuna. 2 down. So Ozuna today, you notice out there that he's not wearing that green sleeve. He's gone to an all white one.
Maybe they washed it with the wrong detergent. I've done that.
That will happen every now and again. That's roughly about the same color. Eugenio Suarez, another big game here last night. Had the 2-run single in that 4-run 7th inning when the Reds took the lead. He comes into play with a National League best 71 runs batted in. Ball 1 away. The Redlegs have 3 of the top 4 leaders in the National League in on-base percentage. Joey Votto, number 1. Jesse Winker, the rookie, number 2. And Eugenio Suarez, 4th best. Each of the 4 over 400 the on-base percentage. Bring it up because there are only 4 other players in all of baseball that have an on-base percentage over 400. 4 total in both leagues. Freddie Freeman, Mike Trout, Mookie Betts, Jose Ramirez, and exactly at 400 it would be a 5th, Shin-Soo Choo, the one-time Red. Two and one on Suarez, and Michaelis delivers. Fastball runs inside. 3 balls and a strike.
You know, I get the feeling that Michaelis' fastball, if he throws it inside, it's meant to be in off the plate, basically to set up the breaking pitch. He wants a slider.
Chopped down to 3rd, and the short way goes Jerko to end the inning. 1 left. Anthony DeSclafani to the mound when we return. Only your tri-state Chevy dealer by Skyline Chili. Feeling good. It's Skyline time. And buy, step up to GMC with nearly $4,000 purchase cash on an Acadia Denali when you finance through GM Financial. All right, the first ever lineup card under their interim skipper. Mike Schilt reads as follows. Carpenter, Molina to the 2-hole, DeYoung in the 3 spot, Ozuna, Jerko, Wong in the middle, a ladder third of Fowler, Bader, and the pitcher Michaelis against right-hander Anthony DeSclafani. First pitch swinging, and Carpenter for a second straight day leads off the game with a home run. Your first game in the big leagues, that's a way to get it started.
You get a get-ahead fastball right thigh high, right down the center of the plate to one of the hottest hitters right now in all of baseball. And you wouldn't characterize him as a home run hitter, but that's basically all he's been doing here the last few weeks. Getting the ball in the air and watching it go bye-bye.
Well, that's 19 of them now. And that is the 20th time in his major league career where he's led off a game with a home run. Only Lou Brock, Hall of Famer in Cardinals franchise history, with more career leadoff home runs than Matt Carpenter. DeSclafani starting for the 8th time since coming off the disabled list. He's had major problems the last couple of years with oblique injuries, and that's what sidelined him going back to spring training in the first couple of months plus of this year. See the numbers. Like most of the Reds starters, averaging just a little more than 5 innings per start. That's still an area where the Reds most of the year have ranked dead last in Major League Baseball. The numbers of innings pitched by their starters, though recently that's beginning to turn the corner a little bit. Grounded foul by Molina. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Down the left field line towards the corner, and foul. Right in to the flower bed. Just foul. By the way, for DeSclafani, he has now given up 11 home runs in 40 innings so far this year. That's been another problem area for these Red starters. By far, they've allowed the most home runs of all starting rotations in the league. Gone swinging is Molina for the first out. Look at the Reds on defense, presented by Ford. Hamilton has been marvelous per usual in center field. First 2 games of this series. This infield among the very, very best, offensively speaking, in Major League Baseball. And again, Tucker Barnhart back behind the plate. He got a day off yesterday. Told you Carpenter for the 20th time has a leadoff home run. 5 of those 20 have occurred already this season. 2 hopper down to Suarez. And DeYoung retired, 2 away. A little
little bit more like it right there for DeSclafani. You know his MO. He likes to keep the ball down. He uses a little cut fastball, a little sinking fastball, tries to paint the edges basically with most of it. And for the most part, he tries to pitch to contact rather than try to go out there and strike him out. It'll be interesting, though, and the Reds will keep a very close eye on Anthony DeSclafani as you go deeper into the second half, because as much time as he has lost, you're not really sure how his body is going to react, you know, to almost a full season of pitching, which he's never had at the major league level. So no matter how you try to condition yourself, rest, lift properly, you know, take care of different things, you're not really sure what your arm's going to do every fifth day. Because it is a grind getting that ball and going out and throwing over 100 pitches every time your turn comes around.
Marcell Ozuna, count of 1-1 in the air, sinking liner. Guess who's there? You got it, Billy Hamilton. And the inning is over. A home run by Carpenter puts the Cardinals in front 1-0.
How about the leaders on the road trip so far? 5-3 is the record. Jesse Winker at 458. Peraza and Hamilton both over 400. Suarez at 375 RBI leaders. Suarez with 8. Votto and Winker with 7. It usually takes them a couple innings, but this offense has been on track this entire road trip, looking to go 6-3 at the break, guys.
Well, what a road trip that would be, especially when you consider the competition level on this road trip. You're going into 4 games in Chicago to take on the Cubbies, or the 3 games there, and then the 3 games against the American League Central Division leading Cleveland Indians. And when this series began a couple of days ago, this Cardinal team was 3 games over 500. 1-0, the home team in front. Winker, Barnhart, Duvall against Miles Michaelis here in inning number 2. Knocked down by DeYoung. And he still has time to throw out Winker, 1 away. Of course, the Reds have already won this series, so if you include the first 2 wins here, their last 8 series, the only loss was in Chicago at Wrigley Field. They had the 1 split against the Brewers. But 4-0 against the Cubs, now a first-place team.
Yeah,
2-1 against Atlanta, first place team. 2-1 against Cleveland, first place team. This will be the second out.
And that series against the Cubs, Tom, really You look back on it and start evaluating it inning by inning. The Reds easily could have won all 3 of those ball games. I mean, they were in command in the very last game, let that one slip away from them. This could have been, could have been with a capital C, one of the best road trips in Reds history, had they been able to pull off a couple of those wins at Wrigley Field.
And those are the kinds of games the Reds just haven't lost for a long, long time, especially since Lorenzen and David Hernandez rejoined this bullpen. I mean, when they get a lead and you start with that duo and you throw in Jarrett Hughes and Amir Garrett and, of course, Raisel Iglesias. When the Reds have a lead late, they have been fabulous.
Well, it goes to show you what good health can do.
Sure.
I mean, the Reds are one of the few teams in baseball that don't have any one of their big guys on the disabled list right now.
Three balls and no strikes. Of course, they do have Homer Bailey on the disabled list, and threw a pretty good game the other night. Going back into the starter's role again.
It'll be interesting to see how it plays out for Homer Bailey and really the Reds overall in the second half. If he's healthy, he'll be in the big league team. He's indicated that he can't relieve. The Reds have plans, I presume, to put him into rotation. I'm not sure how they're going to handle that rotation, but all things seem to play their way out.
Now, you were a guy in your major league career who, started and were used out of the bullpen. Any thoughts on that idea about Homer Bailey, pretty much proclaiming that, he just doesn't think he can pitch out of the bullpen?
Well, Homer's been around a lot longer in the major leagues than I've been, than my career was, and I was always back and forth from bullpen to reliever or to starter. So I was just trying to stay alive up there. I think it gets into your head after a while, and you have a certain way of doing things, and you stick with it.
1-0 after an inning and a half.
Scooter Gennett and Eugenio Suarez, and how excited he is to see them there, and if he's helped them out at all.
No, I think it's best when guys take it in themselves and get to enjoy it themselves. And I don't know, it's a really exciting time. And it's kind of a no-rules sort of environment, which is what makes it the most enjoyable. Guys pretty much do whatever they want and bring whoever they want into the clubhouse, and then we all have a great time together.
Tommy Chris, he said he is so excited for those two to be making their first All-Star appearance, and if they need help with anything, he's there to give it to them.
Well, I know that Scooter is really excited. Spent a little time with him earlier today before the game, and boy, is he fired up. Popped up into right. You know, for as much fun as he has, and he's a confident guy, he's also a very humble guy, as Jeanette, in many, many ways. And, you know, it's almost like he'll look down and, you know, drop his head a little bit when you ask him about going to the All-Star game. But he's really excited. And Suarez, I mean, he walks on the bus this morning. He's high-fiving everybody. You know he's ready to go right now. That is one happy dude.
Yeah.
He really is. Just a happy guy. One away here in the Cardinals' second inning. They got a home run to start the game from Matt Carpenter. And here's Colton Wall. That ball stung to straightaway center field, but that's a long ways out there and a step or two short of the track. Billy to get it.
Now, so far, so good for Anthony DeSclafani. This will be his 18th pitch of the ball game, and he's 1 out away, maybe 1 to 2 pitches away from going 2 full frames and not even having 20 pitches under his belt.
Well, these Cardinals are coming up there swinging.
Man, if you're a sinker ball pitcher and you throw that pitch which you think is a perfect location and don't get the call, you're wondering, what do I have to do down there?
Well, the umpiring in this series behind the plate has been very, very tight. Very tight, especially the lower portion of the strike zone. Shane Lyman's partner is a home plate umpire today.
He's the AAA call-up to this crew, and a young man that hopes at some point become a full-time major league ump.
Jim Reynolds, the crew chief at first. John Tumpane at second. Chris Guccione is the umpire at third. One on Dexter Fowler and pulled foul. The way Fowler's been going, you cannot walk this guy. Batting 174. In the air, right center field, hit a long way. It is out of here.
Well, he fell behind 3-0 to Fowler and began to run the count back in his favor and threw one basically in the same spot that he threw to Matt Carpenter to start the bottom of the first inning. Both ended up just about the same spot.
Well, the Reds rallied from down 2-0 here last night. This ball shot into right center field off the bat of Bader, and he can run. Nearly fell down. He has to stop. He missed a bag.
And he blew out his hamstring or some leg injury right there. He hit the bag. He didn't hit the bag. He missed the bag and came back, and he is in some serious pain.
Oh, what a shame. What a shame.
I think he's coming around the bag right here. If you watch his head, he's probably watching where the ball is right there and doesn't really look now. Actually, he gets before he hits the bag. Something goes out on him. It looks like it's going to be probably his left knee or well, he's up right now standing on the base. It'll be a miracle, at least in my mind, if he stays in the game the way he was writhing there in pain just a second ago.
Wow. That's the second player we have seen, Amir Garrett being the other, where both players were completely sprawled out. And you're thinking the worst of the worst of the worst. And the next thing you know, they're popping up and he's running up the right field line.
Well, totally in honor of the World Cup. They're going to take him out of the game. Tommy Pham's coming out of the dugout right now.
Well, we certainly hope he's all right. Pham will take over. He has been fired in a horrific slump. So he was getting the day off. Bader getting a rare start. And Pham will be in there the rest of the game and undoubtedly will stay in to play center field. So after retiring the first two batters in the inning, DeSclafani has given up a solo home run followed by a single. And here's Michaelis with a runner at first and 2 outs, and the Cardinals with a 2-0 lead. That'll take care of the Cardinals in the inning. But solo home runs in each of the first two, and a 2-0 St. Louis advantage. Cincinnati Children's, now ranked number 2 in the nation by U.S. News and World Report. And by your local Ford dealer, Ford. Go further. Gateway to the West, as they call it. The Arch here in St. Louis, Missouri. Saturday, July the 21st. Come on down to the ballpark early. Reds and the Pirates, and we have the big Reds Hall of Fame induction ceremony. This year's class is Dave Bristol, Freddie Norman, and Adam Dunn. It's presented by PNC Bank. It's a 7:10 game. Probably want to get down there around 6:15. Wouldn't get there much later than that if you'd like to check out the Hall of Fame on-field ceremony. I think that baby's going to start up right around 6:20, something like that.
Be an exciting weekend.
And if for some reason you can't make it, We will cover the ceremony right here on Fox Sports Ohio. George Grant will be back in town. He'll be a big part of the Hall of Fame celebration over the weekend. You too, Chris Welsh and Jim Day and Jeff Pecoro, a cast of thousands. The big gala on Sunday night.
Or at least dozens.
No, thousands. Found out a play by Billy Hamilton. I would imagine there are people starting to gobble up some tickets for this upcoming homestand. It's a good one. It's a 10-gamer. Got the Pirates in for 3 games. You have these Cardinals in for 3, and then a 4-game set against a high-flying, fighting Philadelphia Phillies. Here's a swing and a miss by Billy Hamilton, and that's strikeout number 1 for Miles Michaelis.
Now the breaking ball sets Billy Hamilton down, this time a slider. If you're watching it on your screen and see the box, of course, we give you the speed pitch along with the location, and anything in the 70s is going to be his curveball, and in the 80s will be his slider, and the 90s it'll be the fastball.
Boy, and the hits just keep on coming for Jose Peraza.
What a
But now
nice,
that
easy
one hit with
swing.
authority.
Just a nice, easy, very efficient level cut. Get the bat in the hitting zone. Well, that's a nice stroke. Very little leg movement. You know, we showed you over the last year or so how often he would change in the batter's box. There was a time last year that he was actually stepping backwards with his back foot as the pitch was coming in order to try to stay back and keep his head still. He's figured it out now.
Here's Scooter. Down a strike. Scooter, a lengthy at bat his first time up, wound up hitting a fly ball to shallow center field after just missing a home run down the right field line. Saw Peraza, who was hit by a pitch to lead off the game, got started numerous times in the first inning, taking off for second base, but every time had to come back after a couple of fly balls. Pulled out of play, 0-2 on Jeanette. Mentioned the Philadelphia Phillies. They are now the leaders in the National League East by a 1.5 over Atlanta. Boy, and the woes continue for the Washington Nationals. That team lost their last 2 games, 1 game under 500. They're hoping good health can lead to better days over the final 2.5 months of the season. Right now, they would have to be considered by far the single biggest disappointment of any team in Major League Baseball, and it's not even close. Because all the other teams that were supposed to be good are good. Took the Dodgers a while to get going, but now they're headed in the right direction. 9 games over 500. Arizona was expected to be good. They're good. Cubs were expected to be good. They're good. Houston, the defending world champions, Cleveland, Boston, the Yankees, everybody thinking all those clubs were going to be good, and they've been good. But not the Nationals. Two balls and 2 strikes on Scooter, 1 on, 1 out.
You know, we really haven't seen Scooter go into defense mode. This is something that Joey Votto does a lot. Get a pitch you don't like with 2 strikes and you just kind of foul it off to keep the at-bat going. Hit a long at-bat the first time. And Michaelis looks a little bit perturbed. He did the first time when Scooter fouled off a few pitches. And you're thinking, well, exactly what do I need to do right here to get this guy to hit the ball and play on the ground?
Well, he did just that, and he'll get the double play to end the inning. In our StatCast, powered by AWS. He put a charge into this one. Nearly 105 miles per hour on the exit velocity.
I think you're beginning to buy into the exit velocity, the launch angle, and I'm delighted that we're looking at the second half of the season. You're really beginning to embrace those analytics that
Yes.
you know, have basically taken over baseball.
Yes, no doubt.
Welcome aboard.
Good to be here. Carpenter to be followed by Molina and DeYoung. You know, I mentioned that Suarez was the leader in the National League in runs batted in. But what a weekend it has been for Javier Baez. You know, he was a league leader for quite a while there and then cooled off some, but has just exploded here over the last handful of games, and he's actually moved into a tie. They played very late on the West Coast last night to the Cubs. Straight up in the air. And Hamilton there to get it one away. DeSclafani has allowed a pair of solo home runs in the game. Carpenter in the first, Fowler in the second. Molina struck out swinging against DeSclafani in the opening inning. know, we were talking the other night while the team was in Cleveland, Ohio. You know, the Reds and the Indians, they play one another every year, like the Cardinals play the Royals, so many other natural rivals. But we talked about how for many, many, many years, they never get to play each other on weekends. And yet, whenever you see the Angels playing the Dodgers, this is back-to-back weekends now. The Angels and Dodgers are playing against one another. 3-game weekend series. Same thing whenever the Mets and Yankees play, always during the weekend. Same thing with the White Sox and the Cubs. And my understanding is they're not going to do it again next year. And it's been quite some time since the Cardinals and the Royals. So some of these smaller market teams, if you will, those would be big weekend gates. Now, the Indians have the Yankees in town this weekend. I think they were going to sell out just about every game. But you can't tell me, as we talked about the other night, that Indians fans wouldn't rather see the Reds in on a weekend than the Tigers. Or that Reds fans wouldn't rather see the Indians in town on a weekend instead of the Marlins.
I don't know how they figure that out.
Well, they kowtow to the big market team. Fastball to strike on Paul DeYoung. DeYoung bounced out a 2-hopper to Suarez in the first inning. DeSclafani looking for his first perfect inning of the game. Retired the first 2 in the second before the Fowler home run. A's and the Giants are playing this weekend. Second time they've done it. Straightaway center field. Nothing to it for Hamilton, and DeSclafani knocks him down in order. Reds have Votto, Suarez, Winker coming up. Down 2-0.
All-stars in the 3, Scooter Gennett, Eugenio Suarez, and Joey Votto amongst the lead leaguers. Gennett in average and hits, Suarez in RBI and slugging, and Votto in on-base and in walks. And you can catch them and the rest of the biggest stars in the game in the 89th MLB All-Star Game presented by MasterCard, July 17th on Fox. And don't forget, our coverage begins at 7:30 Eastern. Tom?
That'll be good stuff. Just got a report from the Cardinal clubhouse. Harrison Bader had a mild left knee hyperextension. So he'll have the next 4 days off. try and heal that up. Three, 4, and 5 in the Reds batting order. Votto, Suarez, Winker. Reds are trailing Miles Michaelis, a National League All-Star, and the Cardinals 2-0. So Votto and Michaelis going head-to-head here today. On Tuesday night, they'll be playing for the same team. Although we mentioned earlier the Cardinals have requested that this young man not pitch in the game. He will still go to the All-Star game.
I can't think of another hitter that does what Votto does when he gets a couple of strikes on him. Fouls the ball off, that it's right there marginal, not sure whether it's going to be called a ball or a strike. So, I mean, he basically just spoils it.
He drives this ball into right center field. And Votto will make the turn. He's coming to second base and will easily get in there with a leadoff double here in the 4th inning for Votto.
And if he wasn't able to foul that previous pitch off, he wouldn't have been able to get to the point where he can get this pitch. A little slider that just kind of hangs right up there for him. You know, if the Reds are going to get something done against Michaelis here this afternoon, more than likely it's going to be left-handers that will be the instigators. It's lefties that he has most problems with. Right-handers have really had a very difficult time figuring out his off-speed stuff, changing up between curveballs and sliders. There's the lefty-righty splits we were talking about, and that batting average, I covered it up, is the 3rd lowest in the National League there against right-handers. And I think one of the reasons why the Reds offense is doing what it is doing this year is because they've got a really nice blend of lefties and righties. And one of the things that the Reds are considering as they look at Scooter Gennett, maybe they're going to talk long term, maybe not, but it's a real advantage to have a left-handed hitting infielder other than your first baseman.
Oh, look out. Wow. Goes up around his chin.
He'll be sharing the same clubhouse here in a few days.
Might want to keep him a few blockers down.
Boy, you think he's snapping off a slider or a curveball right here?
Suarez like to snap one off in the left center field bullpen. There is that breaking ball and missed it. Pretty good at bat right there by Suarez. Fell behind an account, a couple of strikes, and ends up drawing a walk. That is his 2nd walk along with a hit batter. given up by Michaelis. This guy didn't walk many.
Well, the keys to success, and I think he's one of only 5 pitchers in this league that have double-digit wins here before the All-Star break, is throwing the ball over the plate.
Breaking ball is high to Jesse Winker, and now all of a sudden, I don't know what that was all about. Michaelis was bent over there, and
you know, I saw
that
him
was really weird.
I saw him between innings, kind of exercising his arm with his glove in his right hand, kind of going through the pitching motion as if, you know, your shoulder. You don't do that unless you've got a little stiffness or you got a little pain spot that you get to. And pitchers are always testing their arm. You know, if they got a little pain or a little, even just a little feeling, you know, it's just human nature to keep twisting your arm until you. How far can I go before it hurts? You know, does it hurt? Is it serious? Is it deep? Is it something that ice can take care of? You know. And I'm wondering if maybe something's bugging him. He's not finishing his pitches at all right now. Tries to feather in a little changeup and just slowed his whole arm down.
Two balls and no strikes on Jesse Winker. That went in there a strike. Brewers and the Pirates are tied at 2. That game in the top of the 7th inning. The Pirates are going for the weekend sweep, which included a doubleheader yesterday. 2 balls and a strike to Winker. Base hit center field. Are they going to wave around Votto? No. Billy Hatcher throws up the stop sign, and the Reds have gone double, walk, single. Nobody out. The bases loaded for a team that's had more plate appearances than any other club in baseball by a mile.
The lefties are the ones that have hit the ball hard off of Michaelis here this afternoon, and just like we thought with the stats and the breakdown of lefty versus righty, that would exactly be the case. Votto with nobody out will be held at third. And the Reds offense beginning to make a little noise here.
This will be the 127th at bat already this year for the Reds with the bases loaded. That's at bats. They have 9 grand slams. Look at the plate appearances, 141 of them. I mean, it's unbelievable. They have 20 more runs batted in, 21 more than any other team in bases loaded situations. And when you have the most plate appearances and the most at bats, you should. 1-0 to count. Swung at ball 2 there. By the way, for Winker, that extends his hitting streak now to a career best 10 straight games. Reds have them loaded with nobody out. It's a big at bat here. You've got Duvall next and then the pitcher spot. Yadier Molina last couple nights been beat up pretty good.
I was a little surprised to see him in the lineup here today, even though he's an iron horse behind home plate. He was really beat up yesterday, and that was a long day of baseball. You agree?
You know, I really hadn't even noticed. But he did get beat up. Boy, he got worked over in that at bat, did Barnhart.
Yeah. Tucker's been sagging a little bit offensively here in the month of July, and he just chased that breaking ball. You know, you don't see that many right-handed starters with a big overhand slow curveball the way that Michaelis throws his. He was kind of old school in as much as he has 2 speeds on his breaking pitch.
All right, big at bat now for the Reds with a pitcher due up next. And Duvall hits one down the left field line towards the corner, and it is foul. Oh my goodness. Maybe a foot less. Wow. Look at that. Maybe not even a foot. The last second. Just narrowly missing what would have been the Reds' 10th Grand Slam this season. Of course, one of those belongs to that guy right there. What pitchers have 2 of the Grand Slams this year? DeSclafani and Michael Lorenzen. 1 ball and 1 strike on Adam Duvall. Now the spotlight shines even brighter in this confrontation between Duvall and Michaelis, knowing that the Reds bat their pitcher 8th. And look, 2 out hits are hard to come by from anyone, especially when the pitcher's hitting there. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Big pitch coming up. Sellout crowd on hand. Sun has been peeking in and behind clouds all afternoon, though far more comfortable than the last couple of days here in St. Louis. Not nearly as hot. Great day for baseball in a big situation here. Bases loaded. 1 out. And a wet towel thrown over the drama as players step off the rubber and out of the box. Here's the 2-2 delivery. We'll do it again. You know, we know the batting average has not been much for Adam Duvall, but take a look at this. This is interesting. Prior to the All-Star break, all time, only Dave Kingman, and look who the other name on that list is, Adam Dunn, with 55 or more runs batted in leading up to the break, but the batting average barely over 200.
That's a list of all or nothing at all. King Kong boy, he could hit him a long way.
2-2 to count. And that'll be a base hit by Duvall. That'll bring in a couple of runs. Tell you what, the batting average might not be much, but that's 60 runs batted in now this year for Adam Duvall.
Yeah, he was one guy that early in the year didn't complain about it, but you could see that he wasn't happy at all with that way the outfield rotation was happening. He thought that with his style of hitting, he needs to get and amass the raw number of ABs in order to put up those production numbers. And he comes through again with a base hit that drives in 2 and ties the ball game up.
Right now, DeSclafani only has 3 hits all year. One of them, the Grand Slam we brought up earlier, and squares around a butt Breaking ball stays up and in. 2-2 game. Second day in a row, the Reds have fallen behind 2-0 and come back to tie. Of course, they boat raced the Cardinals yesterday after falling behind 2-0. They scored 8 unanswered. Look at this
base
play.
hit.
Yep, sure is. Oh, wow. Yes, it is safe at first. Thought they got him.
I think Duvall fooled everybody right there by laying it down right down the third base line. I mean, DeSclafani. I mean, the third baseman goes back home thinking, all right, we're going to be able to get the lead runner right there. But the pitcher, Michaelis, didn't get over there nearly in time, and we'll see if DeSclafani's safer out. In there, no review.
So they are loaded now for Billy Hamilton. Still only 1 out. Hamilton struck out his first time up. Grounded foul, and Michaelis jumps in front of Billy at 0 balls and 2 strikes. See a pile of pitches thrown in this inning. 30 of them for Michaelis. And already here in the 4th, he's up to the 75 mark. Breaking ball popped up. Infield fly rule for out number 2. Looked like Billy Hatcher was over there giving some serious instruction of some kind, and Jesse Winker pretty animated right there for Billy.
I wonder if it had something to do with, I don't know, making an attempt to run down a third base line after the infield fly is caught. Of course, you have to tag up on an infield fly if you're a runner. Best advice is just go back to the bag and hang there.
Here's Peraza. And he's down a strike. Peraza hit by a pitch in the first inning, got a single to center in the 3rd.
It just seems like the deeper that Michaelis gets into trouble, the more he breaks out his off-speed stuff.
Oh, and 1 to count. Michaelis can't find a handle, and the throw is not going to be in time. This Cardinal defense has been an unmitigated disaster the entire year. And strangely enough, their pitchers are the worst fielding pitchers by a landslide in Major League Baseball. I think they're going to take Michaelis out of this game.
I think you're right about that.
Reds take a 3-2 lead. I think they scored that a base hit.
Well, usually when the ball goes up through the middle and it comes off the pitcher, you're going to get a base hit out of that rather than an error on the pitcher, although Michaelis is absolutely infuriated at himself for not being able to make that play. giving up 3 in this inning. And now Scooter Gennett steps to the plate. This could get a whole lot worse for Michaelis.
Been a couple of good battles between these two here today. Both of them won so far by Michaelis. We got Scooter on a fly ball to center. And then on a double play comebacker to the mound his last time up.
You know what gets lost in the box score, Tom, the base hit up the middle, yes, but the way that Peraza hustled down the first baseline, I mean, right out of the batter's box. You know, normally you hit a ball back to the pitcher and you're thinking, oh, I'm automatically out. He didn't let up one bit. Had he let up, it was a bang-bang play at first base. He would have been out.
He has been on base 8 times in the last game and a half. Straight up in the air, and this should end the inning. Third baseman looking for it, and the ball's going to fall in. Holy Moses. Sunglasses on the top of the hat. Holy Moses.
Boy, if you're a little leaguer at home, just go ahead and turn your head right now. Because those glasses are doing nothing but style points on top of that bill of the cap.
And this is the kind of play that has the fan base in this town so frustrated.
And they're still there. I still like the old-fashioned flip downs.
No doubt about it. And in terms of just efficiency, they are by far the best thing out there. Now, whether guys are comfortable in them or not, it doesn't matter. But when that ball goes up in the air, you just reach up and you get into a habit, you just flip them straight down. I mean, look at Jerko. Not only are they on his hat, they're on his hat upside down.
Well, that's the only way they stay there.
Well, those are staying there.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Scooter Gennett still wears those flip down bad boys. Those are nice. 0-2 on Scooter. Now, Colton Wong grew up in Hawaii. He's probably been wearing shades since he was in the crib. I mean, you're Mr. Hawaii. Am I right or wrong?
All I got to tell you, where Colton Wong is from in Hawaii, it rains about 400 inches a year.
Well, then you have to shade your eyes from the rain.
He probably has windshield wipers on those days.
See, that's why we need you, Mr. Rand McNally, here to fill us in on the rainy spots in. Do you contribute to the Farmer's Almanac at all?
No, but I do read it.
Yes. Great book. 0-2 pitch. Fastball up and in. I was just flipping through that baby the other day. It's a big league publication out of the great state of New Hampshire.
83 pitches here for Michaelis. Boy, the Reds have just worked him and worked him.
1 ball and 2 strikes to Scooter. And he'll continue to have to work. Nice to hear from our old buddy Paul Keels, the voice of the Ohio State University Buckeyes.
And what a voice it is.
Oh man, what a voice. You kidding me? He's the best. One ball and 2 strikes to Scooter Gennett. And a slow tapper to the right side. Getting over. But the Reds come back from 2-0 down again. And they lead by a run.
including a Eugenio Suarez, and he says he is so excited, but his family and all of his friends back in Venezuela are even more excited.
I know that everybody gonna watch me in the All-Star game, and it's unbelievable because they excited. My mom excited. They already planned what are they gonna do, watch me in my from my hometown. So it's gonna be excited. Everybody call me, everybody text me. All my friends from Venezuela call me and say, oh, I can't wait to watch you in the All-Star game. This is, I mean, for me, it's a good support and happy, man. That I just want to enjoy this moment so bad.
And Tom, you've already talked about him every day, just the big smile on his face. He is so excited about going, jacked up. He cannot wait to get to D.C. and represent his country and the Cincinnati Reds.
Well, what an incredible trade that was made by the former general manager Walt Jocketty in acquiring Eugenio Suarez for Alfredo Simon. Of course, Suarez was rewarded with a 7-year contract during spring training this year. All right, DeSclafani now has been handed the lead. Let's see if he can bring it home. We got a long way to go. It's only a 1-run lead, but it's a lead. Ozuna rips one up the left field line. And here comes a throw, and he's going to have to stop. Red's got a favorable bounce there. Instead of that ball rolling all the way down into the corner, he had hit off that wall and ricocheted right over to Adam Duvall. That's a break. Jerko popped up to Winker in right field his first time up. Two and 0. That paints the outside corner on a 2-0 pitch. 2 balls and a strike to Jed Jerko. Ozuna has a couple of stolen bases. Those are his only 2 attempts, successful ones. And it's 2 balls and 2 strikes on Jerko. Down the left field line towards the corner and foul. Seen 3 of those down in that corner today.
Everybody getting a souvenir down there today.
Yeah.
Boy, tough pitch to lay off there on a 2-2 count. DeSclafani just about threaded the needle right on the knees and on the black. And I mean, how do you take this pitch? Unless you're just so fooled that you can't pull the trigger.
There's a walk. Reds fans, we invite you to follow Fox Sports Ohio on Instagram to keep up with game highlights and so much more. Follow along at Fox Sports OH. So after being given a lead, DeSclafani all of a sudden has been unable to retire a batter. A single and a walk. And now Colton Wong, who hit the ball very hard his first time up, lined out to Billy Hamilton in center field, looks at a strike. Real good success for DeSclafani. Of course, when you put something like that up, the first thing some of us say is, does that mean he's due? That is complete ownership. Oh my gosh. Single walk hit batter on an 0-2 pitch.
He tried to make sure he didn't leave that one out over the plate, and I would personally rather see him hit Wong with that pitch rather than leave it right down the middle and see a 3-run home run go out of the ballpark. And run on the toe that time. That will now bring out Danny Darwin for the trip to the mound.
Reds have action in their bullpen, with an off day this week.
Yeah, you mentioned, Tom, when the first couple of runners reach base here that, DeSclafani's handed a lead. One of the 3 performance goals that a lot of pitching coaches have for their pitchers are, number 1, you throw first pitch strikes. Number 2, you throw 2 strikes out of the first 3 pitches of every at bat. And number 3 is that when your team gives you a lead, you go out and hold them. That's a real momentum inning. We talked about momentum innings a lot, but right now, it's a matter of survival here for DeSclafani. Both these pitchers get worked over a little bit, although DeSclafani has about 30 fewer pitches than does his counterpart. But with no outs here in the 4th.
Fowler homered to right field his first time up. You saw Sal Romano down there getting loose. We were talking about with the off day the Reds had on Thursday in between Cleveland and here. Today would have been a normal 4 days of rest in between starts for Romano. So he's available out of the bullpen today.
Well, he's not one of the 3 top pitchers coming back after the break, so it's going to be a long time since he gets on the hill again.
I think the Reds announced yesterday they were going to go with, in order, Mahle, DeSclafani, Harvey in that 3-game series against the Pittsburgh Pirates. One ball, 1 strike on Fowler. Base is loaded and nobody out. 1-2.
The Reds defense will play for a double play. They've got him in double play depth, though I think Votto playing a couple of steps a little bit too deep right there. To be able to get to, you got to get to that ball quickly unless Fowler hits it very hard towards him.
Swing and a miss, and a strikeout for DeSclafani for the first out of the inning.
And a really bad swing. He had him completely. Looks like DeSclafani pulled the string on Fowler.
Now Tommy Pham. And he takes it into center field. Here comes a throw by Hamilton. A two-run single, and the Cardinals are right back on the top. The throw gets away from Barnhart, and the other two runners will advance another 90 feet. Pham breaks an 0 for 21 stretch. And remember, he did not start this game today. Came on to replace the injured Harrison Bader.
Well, Bader had a hit his first at bat, and Pham gets a hit on the first pitch that he sees in this ball game. A ringing single up the middle, which drives in a couple of them. And that will be all for Anthony DeSclafani. Boy, that is a quick hook. Jim Riggleman kind of managing this ball game like a playoff game.
Well, after being given a lead, DeSclafani faces 6 batters, and he only gets 1 out. So the Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. Cardinals up a run. Romano coming on. But Sal Romano's worked out of the bullpen. The other was back in 2015. See his numbers as a starter this season.
Now he'll face a pinch hitter in Jose Martinez. He might be the best pinch hitter on that Cardinal bench here today. We're seeing him in the 4th inning. He might be looking for a get-ahead fastball here.
Well, this gives you maybe a little bit of insight as to this new Cardinal manager, the interim manager, Mike Schilt. The fact that, you know, there are a lot of managers that believe when you think you have your best chance to really kick the door down. And look, we're only in the 4th inning, and it's a 1-run lead. But you have runners at second and third, and you're thinking, all right, I want to get him in. Why not use my main guy right now? The situation may not present itself later in the game. He'll get in one run. Peraza will throw him out. But scoring from third is Wong. Staying at second is Pham. Boy, that was a huge error the Reds made on that play. That throw into the plate that Barnhart, rather than getting in front of the ball, he played it off to the left, trying to just scoop it up with his glove. They had no chance to get the runner at the plate. And the runners, instead of being at first and second base, that would have been a double play to win the inning.
You're right.
Huge play. I don't know who they gave the error to. They gave it to Billy Hamilton. That's ridiculous. I mean, the throw was slightly offline. It was just to the third base side of the plate, but it bounced 3 times.
And that's why he got the error.
But I think even Tucker would tell you, you go back and look at that replay. I mean, take a look at this. This ball is just bouncing and bouncing and bouncing. They're not going to get the runner at the plate, and he could have just stepped in front of the ball.
Absolutely right.
Played it off to his left. That catcher, that should be on the error on the catcher.
Very much like a catcher gets an error when he does the same thing on a bouncing ball at second base, trying to get a stolen base stealer.
Yep.
And the infielder tries a little swipe tag, and the ball goes into the outfield.
That'll be an intentional walk now to Carpenter. And now Romano will turn his attention to Yadier Molina. Left field base hit. Pham will score. 6-3 Cardinals.
You got the ground ball right here, but unfortunately for the Reds, it goes in that hole, that 5.5 hole between third and short. Not really even hit all that hard, just perfect placement.
One out of the count now on DeYoung. It has been a 4-run Cardinal inning. And that's where it will stop. But the Reds had taken a 3-2 lead. The Cardinals answer with a 4 spot.
military by sharing a photo or video with hashtag #HatsOffForHeroes. For each post, T-Mobile will donate $1 to support veterans.
Cardinals lead 6-3. We've only played 4 innings here today. Cardinals will replace a starter. Not a good start today for Miles Michaelis. John Gant takes over on the mound.
He's been up and down from their AAA affiliate a couple of times. Originally made the major leagues at the Atlanta Braves. Has started 6 games so far this year for the Cardinals. That has pretty good supporting numbers, except for the walk column.
Well, the Reds have just bludgeoned this Cardinal bullpen the first 2 games of this series. Showed you some of the numbers earlier, scoring 14 runs against the Cardinal bullpen first 2 games of the series. Not much Votto could do with that pitch. That was a sharp breaking ball down and in, and all he could do was pop it up on the first pitch delivered by Gant. Well, their starter's not too bad first 2 games. You got 5 innings of shutout baseball before the second rain delay yesterday for Flaherty, and 3 runs in 5 innings. Not a great outing for Martinez, but not awful. But look at the rest. 20 hits, 14 earned runs. Woo. Short right field. That'll be easy for Fowler. Well, what else is going on around baseball? We'll check in with our buddy Dan Horde. Hiya, Danny. Well, we know Chris Welsh can, that's for sure.
I'll put him back on when it gets sunny again. How's that?
I'm going to leave mine on top of my hat.
You've always been a style points first kind of guy, anyway.
Yeah. Actually, I've made a mistake for a long time, and that was never wearing sunglasses, and I still don't. And it's incredible, especially when you live in a place where there's a lot of sun, as we did in Arizona, and it does tremendous damage to your eyes. Never been a sunglass wearer. Not very smart. And then you throw in the habit that when you do buy a nice pair, you tend to lose them. That just recently happened for the last time, so I won't buy buying any nice ones anytime soon. Decided to be a good idea to jump on a jet ski, and didn't have a cord around them, and next thing you know, adios.
Well, maybe you can make some friends with some of these Cardinal players. They don't seem to be using theirs.
You're right. I mean, look at those. They're barely hanging on for Matt Carpenter. Upside down.
Maybe they come with a cap that way.
Well, we know Ozuna likes styling. He's been wearing that green sleeve. Now the veterans, they have theirs on. Swing and a miss. Pretty impressive inning right there by Gann. Right through Votto, Suarez, and Winker. July the 22nd. Thanks as always to our good friends at Klosterman Bakery. You can get half-price Reds tickets, have the mascot races, face painters, a lot going on. Kids 14 and younger get a Tucker Barnhart Fathead this coming weekend, thanks to PNC Bank. Sal Romano begins here in the bottom of the fifth with the Reds trailing 6-3 on in relief of Anthony DeSclafani. The Reds in Fox Sports Ohio, you got to hear this, sending out a couple of belated happy birthday wishes. There's a routine fly ball in the right. Minnie Scowden from Elm Grove, Ohio, a few weeks ago turned 98 years young. Watches the Reds every day. Okay, she turned 98. Her daughter, Jean Bayless, just celebrated her 80th birthday on Friday. Wow, how about that? Happy belated birthdays to Minnie and Jean. Good stuff. Good stuff. Straight up in the air. Suarez. Running out of room. It's a good try. Good try down there. Play it on a hop. Diving to go get it is Billy Hamilton. This entire series, it's been play after play after play for Hamilton.
He didn't expect to make that catch. He actually thought, I believe, that Duvall was going to be over there, and that's why he started quickly, then went into cruise control, and then had to put on the jets again in order to get that ball. And of course, these guys go back and forth at each other defensively all the time. Billy saying, well, I think that's in left field. You should have caught that ball. To which Duvall says, I'm just trying to get you to increase your UZR, your range factor. And out is an out.
And that's a 1-2-3 inning for Romano. So we are off to the 6th. The Reds trail the Cardinals 6-3. Making plays. They're both outstanding defenders. And after that ball a few minutes ago, they started piping back and forth at one another. Take a look at this. It's all in fun. Tucker Barnhart to lead things off. You know, one of the things when you have a big lead late in the game, like the Reds did last night, and after all the rain delays and all that kind of thing, Barnhart had a chance to play first base pick. I bet he enjoyed that.
Well, he really did. And, you know, Jim Riggleman talked to him and said, look, you're either going to go in at first base or catcher. And he said he had talked to Brian Price in spring training about using the catchers at first when they had a big lead or were behind a lot to get Joey some rest during games. He said, so Tucker, who'd never played first base before, said, I'd love to do it. And he said, all right, get out there. And he had a big smile on his face as he ran out there.
Well, every time that Gant has gotten deep in the count here with a couple of strikes on a hitter like he did to Jesse Winker to end the inning, he comes up with a changeup. He's basically fastball changeup in his repertoire. And there it is, and he misses.
So that's the way it starts here in the Cincinnati 6th inning, down by 3. First pitch popped up by Duvall, and barely having to move is Fowler. Out number 1. Michael, is his shortest outing of this season. He lasted 4 2/3 in a start against Minnesota all the way back in the middle of May, but today just 4 innings. It was less than that, of course, for Red starter Anthony DeSclafani. Now Dielson Herrera will come up and bat for the pitcher Sal Romano. Herrera clubbed a 3-run home run off the bench in his 7th inning, that 5-run 7th inning here on Friday night. His first hit is a Red. First hit in the big league since 2015. Good for him.
Wow, Gant, Molina, and probably Herrera. Can't believe that wasn't a strike.
Ball and 2 strikes on Herrera.
Hey, he's got a really good arm action on that changeup. David Hernandez warming up in the Reds pen. I mean, really good arm action.
One and 2 on Herrera. Fastball, and he does not get the call.
Take another look.
One thing we've seen from Herrera in the limited number of at-bats, he's only made 1 start since he joined the team. That was in Cleveland the other night. He walked twice in that game. He appears to have a very good feel for the strike zone. Now, we've seen him chase some bad balls, but we've seen him take some pitches that were balls, but they were very, very close. 3 and 2. Waves through the off-speed pitch for strike 3. Second strikeout for Gant. Now Billy Hamilton with a runner at first and 2 outs. That ball nearly hit Hamilton. Slow breaking ball. Emergency swing there, and Hamilton able to put the bat on the ball to last for another pitch. Great American Ballpark, Saturday, August 4th. Don't forget the Zach Brown Band Down the Rabbit Hole Tour featuring Leon Bridges comes to Great American Ballpark. Get your tickets at reds.com/Zach Brown Band. Already had Luke Bryan at the ballpark this summer. Billy gone swinging in that 11th inning. Leadoff walk, but 3 straight retired by Gann, who's thrown the ball well out of the bullpen.
Back to July 15th, 1985, the Cobra, Dave Parker. He wins the first ever home run derby in Minneapolis at the Metrodome. Man, can he smack some bombs, that's for sure. Wins the first ever home run derby. And here's the bracket for Monday's home run derby. Aguiar against Hoskins of the Phillies. Bryce Harper and Freddie Freeman. That ought to be a good one. Alex Bregman and Kyle Schwarber-Bregman, the only American League player in it. Max Muncy and Javier Baez. Who you got? Should be a good one. I'm going with Aguiar. Tom?
It's not a bad pick, I'll tell you that. Not a bad pick at all. I might be on board with you there.
David Hernandez takes over for the Reds here, and he has been in now 29 ball games. Missed the first part of the season with a little bit of an arm injury. They took him very slow coming out of spring training. As it turned out, he was actually pitching in Goodyear with a sore arm. Tried to pitch through it, didn't work. But he and Jared Hughes have been really calming factors in that Reds bullpen, which has been the biggest turnaround on this ball club.
Fowler has hit a solo home run and struck out. Rugby ball camps underneath it, and that's out number 1 here in the St. Louis 6th inning. Dribbler up the third baseline. This will stay fair. Tommy Pham, who had not collected a single hit in nearly a week, does not start the game today. He comes in after Bader was injured in the second inning as a 2-run single and now a second hit.
This one about as well as you can place a bunt.
Give Camp the sacrifice, advancing the runner on to second base. Carpenter a home run to lead off the game. Has since popped up to center field and been intentionally walked. Runner at second, 2 outs. A 3-run deficit for the Reds here in the bottom of the 6th inning, and don't want to surrender anymore. Romano goes an inning and 2/3. He allows 1 hit, 1 walk intentional, no runs. In relief of DeSclafani, who was charged with all 6 runs in 3 1/3. 0-2 to Matt Carpenter.
One thing that Carpenter has done is turn his season around, hit the home runs. We talked about that, the one he hit earlier in the game that started off for the Cardinals in the bottom of the first, but he's not hit any balls on the ground in the last 5 games. So here's a guy that are really buying into trying to lift the ball a little bit. 11 home runs in the last 30 days.
Hernandez trying to sneak one on the inside edge against Carpenter and missed it. Not by much. There you see the way his season has certainly turned around. Look at that batting average the last 53 games. .330. That's a Carpenter, or nearly the Carpenter we saw for a handful of seasons when he was among the better players in the league.
Dad, you just...
And you can hear Carpenter's first few words. He said, "You just called the other pitch in the same spot of ball." So Hernandez gets a strikeout. That'll end the inning. A hit, one left. We march on to the 7th. Cardinals lead 6-3. It's been the inning of magic so far in this series for the Reds. First game of the series, they come up with 5 runs and 5 hits to blow the door open. And then they come up with 4 runs to take the lead here last night in the 7th inning. So 9 of their 17 in the series over the first 2 games have come in the 7th inning. And guess where we are now? The 7th inning. The top of the order coming up.
Yeah, the difference here, though, is that they've got a pitcher on the mound who's had a nice, easy time of it the last 2 innings. 2 innings, he's faced 1 batter over the minimum. That was a leadoff walk to start the 6th.
And right now, he would be the pitcher of record in this game because Michaelis only went 4. Popped up into short center field. Out number 1. Jeanette, the batter. Strike 1. They've gone to the bottom of the 9th inning, but the Pirates are threatening. Milwaukee a 5-3 lead, but Pittsburgh with runners at first and second and nobody out in the bottom of the 9th. I'm sure that's against Knable. And the Cubbies not wasting any time in San Diego. Already 2 runs on the board in the first inning and still batting. looking for the weekend sweep. Atlanta beat Arizona earlier today, 5-1. Arizona was going for the series sweep there in Atlanta. Braves had fallen out of first place behind Philadelphia. Phillies get thumped in Miami at last check, 10-5. It might be a final by now. Three straight sellouts over this weekend series between the Reds and the Cardinals. And today, here we are in mid-July, and the Cardinals have already eclipsed 2 million plus fans. 2 million. There can't be more than a handful of teams that have reached that mark. Bouncing ball, well played down there at first by Carpenter, 2 away. Well, the MLB.TV All-Star Sale is here now for $39.99. Watch every out-of-market regular season game live or on demand. Visit MLB.TV to take advantage of this sale. Well, one full time through the batting order for John Gant, and he is not allowed a hit. Only one base runner. As Chris mentioned, that was that walk to Barnhart in the 6th.
You know, the changeup is an interesting pitch because I'm not so sure that you can just analyze that with metrics. You know, a lot of times it has to do with how deceiving you are with it, how fast your fastball is, what the separation is. And his fastball is not overpowering. I mean, he's throwing at 92, which is below major league average. But he's got a lot of awkward swings here in just a couple of innings on that changeup, including a first pitch pop out by Joey Votto.
Hey, by the way, the Pirates, we mentioned they were threatening there in the 9th inning. They have tied the game. Boy, the Brewers all of a sudden, they've been hovering right around a few games over 500 until now. And they have hit a lengthy skid. Now, they haven't lost this game yet. But if they lose today, that'll be their 6th consecutive loss. And would go stumbling into the All-Star break. Pirates trying to sweep that 5-game weekend series.
You don't see too many of those anymore.
That's what weather will do to you. From back in April, Votto draws a walk. So now all of a sudden you're thinking about a long one from Suarez here to bring you within a run. How about that? 15 walks to Joey Votto in the season series this year against the Cardinals. If you're wondering who's the only other player that has more against any other opponent, I think many of you could probably rip that off the top of your head. The way the Reds have pitched to Ian Happ this year, which means they haven't pitched to him at all.
And a couple of foul balls off the right side tell me as a pitcher that Suarez is just a hair behind that fastball. So if you're John Gant, you speed his bat up by throwing him a change up here. Or you try to climb the ladder on him a little bit.
It's one of these kind of guys you talk about a lot, Chris, that, you know, if he showed up at a tryout camp, you probably even never look at him. But the Cardinals obviously looked at him because I'm sure he wasn't throwing the ball any harder then than he is now. One and two to Suarez. Struck him out. Middle of the seventh. Cardinals still lead 6-3.
Eastern, only on Fox, or stream it live on your Fox Sports app. Well, Scooter Gennett is an all-star for the Reds, and here is what Scooter is looking forward to the most.
Just meeting all the guys that you know, we play against that we don't really know on a personal level, meeting them, and maybe meeting some of the pitchers that have, you know, either gotten me out quite a bit or, you know, the other way around, you know, just to be able to talk and joke around with them and stuff, and, you know, just to get to know them, I think is going to be it's going to be a lot of fun.
You know, Tom and Chris, he said he's not going to be a nerd and have his phone out all the time, but I guarantee he's going to take a lot of photos and remember this experience.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt about that. Fly ball to center field by Yadier Molina against a new Reds pitcher. I mean, you can make a very strong argument for this right-hander to be on the National League's All-Star team. They added late a couple of guys that basically have his same kind of role. Look at those numbers for Jared Hughes.
Really, by far the best season he's having. The only number of concern, for me anyway, is you look at the number of games and the number of innings pitched that he has already. I mean, he is on pace to just blow right by his yearly highs that he's put in his career. That's how much he's been used out of this Reds bullpen. And you wonder how he's going to hold up going down the line.
Well, that's the one thing, you know, the Reds have been hunting for really this entire year. Even as well as they played, they've been 10 games over 500 since they began the year 8-27. They just can find no consistency in that starting rotation in terms of length. Now, they've had some good games from time to time, you know, but just use DeSclafani, today's starter, just off the top of your head as an example. His last start, he goes 7 innings, gives up 1 run. Today, he can't finish 4. Now, some might say, well, he got an early hook. You might be right on that. But he still didn't go 4. Right back to the mound, and that'll take care of DeYoung.
Yeah, Dees Capani, you know, is one of those situations where you come out of the ball game and leave the bases loaded and every one of your runs gets gassed in. So they go on your ledger. It makes it look like it's a lot worse than it really was. But that's the game of baseball. You know, I did a very informal poll to a few hitters in the Reds clubhouse. I just asked them, all right, you know, after seeing Jordan Hicks pitch here yesterday, throwing 102 miles per hour, he averages 101 this year. Who would you rather face, Jordan Hicks, who throws it straight but very hard, or Jared Hughes? And it was unanimous, I'd rather face Hicks than Hughes. Because Hughes, you're thinking you're right on a fastball and the ball sinks below your bat, you top it, and it's a ground ball to shortstop. Whereas Hicks, when you're on it, you're going to hit it. Of course, it doesn't mean he's not going to strike you out and overpower you sometimes. They said that his ball moves a little bit too, and he gets on you very quickly. There's Hicks. Very young, hard-throwing right-hander. But I think there are fewer and fewer. There are more and more pitchers like Hicks, and you're going to see it trend more in Major League Baseball, and fewer like Jared Hughes.
Unless, who knows, you know, maybe it gets to a point, Chris, where people start saying, you know, as you allude to regularly, that the higher they keep going, the higher the hitting speed of the batters keeps going.
Exactly.
And so maybe somebody finally says, you know what, a few more guys like this, or Gant, or David Hernandez. Now, he used to throw very hard. He's just got a little long in the tooth. Still getting people out regularly. Ground ball down to third, and the beat goes on for Jared Hughes. A 1-2-3 inning. Reds have 6 outs to play with. They're down 3. All right, fellas. Yeah, there was some chatter about that here, but I don't know if there's any conclusive evidence, maybe a camera angle of some kind that we have not seen on the replay of that home run. That's one where you really don't even need, you don't have to challenge. You can just ask for a crew review, because that's the reason why instant replay was instituted in baseball to start with.
Yeah, the first one that was ever done was about home run or not, fair or foul. Woo.
This is the best look we have of it. It hit something hard down there, and the only things that you would say are hard down there would be the fair pole, and then, you know, the area directly surrounding it to keep it in that block of cement, which it's built into.
Now, I looked at the ground rules here for Busch Stadium, and it doesn't state anything in particular about that line, where part of that foul pole is gray and the other part of it is yellow. They do mention this screen right here, and if it hits the screen, it's a fair ball. And I would think if it hit any part of that foul pole, be considered a fair ball.
And now a quick message from Miami Valley Gaming.
Get ready to get lucky.
Well, with the way that John Gant is pitching here since he came in the 5th inning, you just wonder. If Mike Matheny had used him yesterday, he might still have a job.
You're exactly right. It's a very good point. It's a great point. I mean, he would have been the guy to come in after the second rain delay, you know, after you bring Flaherty out of the game. Flaherty had shut you out for the first 5.
Yeah, he was good.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, it's really interesting to think about. Because if this guy does come in the game yesterday and throws the ball the way he is right now, Mike Matheny might indeed still be sitting in that dugout. Now, how much longer? Who knows? But the bottom line is he'd be here on this Sunday afternoon and stood up for the first time in the last 7 years.
You're not going to let a guy go after a win, are you?
No. I think everybody around here was stunned. I think you made the comment too, Chris, that it is not the Cardinals' MO to fire managers during the season.
Yeah.
Now, it's been a long time since they've had to think about firing a manager, because Matheny had great success at the start, and that's another 1, 2, 3 inning for this guy. Boy, he is really throwing the ball well. But they have La Russa here for 15 years. with 3 in the 4th. Adam Duvall, a 2-run single into left field. They got a base hit by Jose Peraza, who has 2 more hits today after 5 of them yesterday. But then Anthony DeSclafani comes out in the bottom of the 4th, allows a single, a walk, hits a batter, gives up a 2-run single to Pham. They get a ground out for another run, and then a single by Molina, a 4-run 4th inning. Neither team has scored since then, and that's where we stand as the Cardinals bat in the last of the 8th. Leading 6-3, trying to avoid being swept in this 3-game weekend series at home. Raisel Iglesias will take over on the mound. Alex Blandino is taking over out in left field. And his sunglasses on top of the hat. That must be the fashion statement here in St. Louis.
Could be Stanford style right there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of styling going on in that Pac-12, Daddy. A whole lot. I mean, you've got the Southern California cool, and there's a different cool between the Trojans and the Bruins. There's a one-hopper back to the mound. Then you've got the cool of the Pacific Northwest. I mean, they've got their own kind of thing going on. You got the Bay Area cool, and then the Arizona cool. It's just a cool conference.
You've kind of always favored the SC
Yeah,
style,
right,
though,
yeah.
right?
I'm a big fan.
As in
really big
Southern
fan.
Cal.
Oh, yeah.
George Grant's alma mater.
Of course, they stepped out of the box here in recent years when they started adding to the conference. They went to Colorado. There's cool up there in Boulder, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then
Definitely.
Utah. They're in that conference now. Some beautiful states out there. But, brother, give me the Pac, give me the Big Ten and the Mid-American Conference all day, every day. You can have the rest of them. Give me the MAC and the mighty Big Ten and move on. On swinging is Wong, and Iglesias takes care of the first 2. I want to remind you now, All-Star break is over starting Friday night. Reds are opening a 10-game homestand, and this coming weekend is going to be a big weekend. Saturday, we have the Hall of Fame induction ceremony on the field. And for Saturday's game, the first 20,000 fans through the gates get a Reds cap presented by Fox Sports Ohio. That's a 1-2-3 inning for Iglesias. Reds one more shot at him. 10% or more on car insurance. And by Toyota. For over 30 offers, visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota. Let's go places. Just beyond the left field wall. Here in downtown St. Louis, Missouri. Gant, a career-high tying relief appearance, 4 innings. Not a single run allowed by Gant. In fact, he did not allow a single hit. 2 base runners, 2 walks, and he struck out 4. Boy, did he look good. That was not the story for this guy here in the game last night. Jordan Hicks being brought in the closer's role here today. Now, we saw their closer here, Bud Norris, last night. Norris has 17 saves. Hicks has 1. Now, we did not have a chance. They had a press conference today and everything. Nobody was getting near the new manager, Mike Schilt. But, you know, without knowing for sure why Norris is not pitching in this game, you wonder, is this a move being made by the new manager to make Jordan Hicks his closer?
It's a really good point right there. Just trying to shake things up maybe a little bit.
I don't know. I mean, it could be nothing to it. Maybe this guy didn't feel good after the game last night. Who knows? Or maybe something's wrong with him today. But this has been Bud Norris's spot. And, of course, much has been made about that whole relationship between Hicks and Norris and some of the things that have gone on going back to spring training.
Well, Norris threw 21 pitches yesterday. Jordan Hicks threw 24. Neither of them completed an inning.
Two and two to count. And a bouncer back to the mound. 1 out here in the Reds' 9th inning.
I mean, just the fact that Jordan Hicks has held on to a big league roster spot all year long is noteworthy. I mean, after all, he basically made the jump from A-ball to the back end of a major league bullpen.
That's exactly right.
A lot of times you bring a kid up like that and you think, all right, we're going to give you a little bit of a taste right here, and if you struggle, we'll send you back down, but at least you know what you have to do to get guys out up here. Well, he's never looked back.
One hopper to third. Reds are down to their final out. Well, how about the series for Jose Peraza? 10 hits in these 3 games with 1 more at bat to go. That ties him for most by a Red in a 3-game series all time. Most recently, Eddie Taubensee, former catcher in 2000 against
that is hard
Montreal
to believe.
Expos.
Isn't that amazing?
It really is.
I mean, with Pete Rose, never had more than 10 hits in a 3-game series.
I'm stunned.
Got a chance to break it right here.
See if he can do it. Well, he had one of the hits last night against this guy that drove in a run in that 4-run 7th inning. He's been on base 11 times in the 3 games of this series. That has to be knocking on the door of some Reds record, right? I mean, you get 10 hits and you're on base 11.
Yeah.
Well, of course, you know, we've had games where Votto's been walked 4 times or 5 times and then had 3-4 hits over the next couple of days. Here's a 1-1. Slider swung on and missed. Sclafani, the pitcher of record for the Reds. Gant, the pitcher of record. And if they win, he earned it. He threw the ball really well. Interim manager Mike Schilt took over after the firing of Mike Matheny last night. And this one into right center field. Peraza will indeed set the franchise record for the most hits in a 3-game series, 11 of them.
Wow, congratulations to him.
Congratulations is right. He's going to go to the All-Star break with a batting average over 290. Would you have believed that back in April?
Well, how about in the month of March when he struggled down in spring training, really even just to get the bat on the ball with any kind of consistency. He has come a long, long way. I know what he's doing during the break. Being on base as much as he has in this series, probably go get a foot massage.
That's about right. This one into left center field, and it'll fall in a base hit. There's a single by Jeanette. He gets another RBI. And now all of a sudden the Reds will bring the tying run to the plate in the form of Joey Votto. Mike Maddox, a pitching coach, will come out for a visit. Remember, it was Votto yesterday who faced Hicks with the bases loaded, and Hicks struck him out.
Well, what a simple swing for Scooter Jeanette.
Well, the Cardinals have action down in their bullpen. That's Mike Myers. So there must be something going on with Norris. Here we go. Votto, the tying run of the plate. Jeanette better watch out. Freddie Benavidez having to tell him that Carpenter came creeping in. If there was any timing to this play at all, he'd have been picked off.
Now this is why you've got a first base coach over there.
Ball to the right side, and that's going to do it. Reds get one of the night. And win 2 out of 3 over the weekend. And really, it's a very good road trip when all is said and done. You went 5-4. Obviously, you wish 6-3, and you could have been even better than that with the games in Chicago. And congratulations, by the way, to Mike Schilt, interim manager, his first big league win. Back with more in a minute.